Today's video, we're gonna talk about LinkedIn ad copy that works. What actually you say on your ads makes all the difference as to whether your ads work or not, okay? So I'm gonna go through, if you stay to the end of the video here, some actual case studies where we had working campaigns on LinkedIn, so you can see the type of things you gotta actually say on your ads to actually make a profit that is sales enough to cover ad spend and all your expenses to deliver that product or service at the end of the day, which you can market either or technically, because I've got case studies for both here. You can actually run ads on LinkedIn for B2C. We've also done that as well, but it's 95% a B2B platform. But I'm gonna tell you how we did this. You could do it for yourself. And for that matter, there's just a general cadence to it that we follow each and every time that we're trying to make money on LinkedIn ads for a client. And we'll typically start running ads on Google search and we'll make money, and we try to get LinkedIn ads going, and we do some testing on LinkedIn ads, and we can typically get something working there as well, if the client's open to doing it the way that actually works. You can't just simply go to LinkedIn and be like, hey, we have replacement saw blades for your company, come buy them from us, that's not how it works on LinkedIn. That's actually not how it works on the web in general, as well as any place else you're advertising other than a search engine. You have to woo people to get their attention with something of value that they're not gonna see every day, because everybody knows if they need saw blades, they can go to Google when they need them. What are you saying to me about saw blades that is gonna be so universally different than anything I've ever heard about saw blades that matters to me, that I'm gonna jump on this right now? And that's how you gotta be thinking when it comes to LinkedIn here, if you're gonna make money with your ads. However, it's not that hard at all to do this. I don't care if you got the most boring product on the planet. There's a way to make it interesting so that you can tap into that buyer. And when you're talking about B2B, you have a major advantage that other businesses don't have, which is the typical ticket size or client value or customer value is so much larger than with an individual consumer that buys an actual saw blade for his house, that you could actually get humans involved in the process. So with that, you run a LinkedIn ad, it gets somebody on the hook, and then you use a high-powered salesperson to close them down. And that's typically what you have to do with LinkedIn ads in order to get it to work. So for that matter, what your LinkedIn ad does is actually gets the person on the phone one way or another, so that the salesperson can build rapport with them and then eventually close them on a sale. That's 90% of how we make money on LinkedIn ads today, and I'm gonna explain that in detail in this video for you here. So I'll go into the case studies here, as I mentioned, in a minute, but I wanna start with the fundamentals here on what you need to know with your LinkedIn ads and ad copy specifically on LinkedIn that's gonna be able to get it to work, if you will. So I first want to say, starting out, you want to have something that sounds and looks novel. So even if you are offering something boring, what can you do to make it novel? And that's the first step in the overall process. Generally speaking, unless you have something someone already needs and you're like the only one that supplies it, you're best going with either a bribe for the user to get their attention. That means you're giving away something, cash, product, a ridiculous deal on product that normally you can't get a deal on like that, or information on your LinkedIn ads to get the ball rolling in the direction of making a sale with the prospect, so to say. If you offer, a nut or a bolt for a piece of industrial equipment that only you sell, well, I'm gonna just find the people who have that industrial equipment. I'm gonna offer the bolts, and I'm gonna say, we're the supplier, and you can get it through us, and that's good enough. But 95% of you guys watching this is not what you're dealing with in your market. So in that case, you gotta get more creative, bribe or information. And once you know what you need to say on your ads, you need to be able to target it correctly as well. But LinkedIn is so simple in terms of how to target. All you do with LinkedIn is you take the advantage of the fact that they have title-based targeting. So you could target either HR managers, C-level, director level, VP level. You find the ultimate decision maker in the companies you sell to, and then you say you only want to target them plus the companies that you want to sell to. So, because usually in B2B sales, there's a certain size of company that you can work with, either small or big, and you got to find the amount of revenue or employee count or a certain set of companies that actually buy from you. The best is finding the 1,000 companies on LinkedIn that actually would buy from you and only targeting them, and then only targeting the buyers or decision makers at those 1,000 companies, which doesn't get you very much opportunity like to run your ads as a whole, but of the 1,000 people you're marketing to, it's going to be profitable. And for that matter, if you go with that general formula, you basically can't lose. And it's just a matter at that point in time is, can you say something enticing enough on that ad to get them to jump or not? And that in itself is not hard if you just think outside the box a little bit. Also do research on your market and figure out what people care about in your market that would initially pique their interest enough to at least take the next step forward and just click. And then once they click, you pique their interest a bit more, you get them to turn into a lead, and then from the lead, you get people and you start building a rapport with them via the salesperson. So that's the formula. Now, I got 3 different case studies here of different markets where we've done this with bribes as well as with information. So you can see how to roll this out for your company as well. For that matter, just to take a quick minute out, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, you should, because the information on this channel comes from somebody who has 20 years of advertising experience, advertising not only on LinkedIn, but other platforms, and can tell you how to make millions of dollars a year running ads for your business and educating you specifically how to do that. So if you haven't subscribed, you should do that. Furthermore, I've got a fantastic blog on my site. If you haven't checked that out yet, you should. It's at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has actual step-by-step instructions on how to actually make money with ads, with the visuals or illustrations to go along with it, strategies we're using at our firm to literally guarantee results for our clients. So check that out as well if you already like and subscribe to this channel. If you have any questions, by the way, about anything I'm covering here, you can always leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, typically within 24 hours time. So with that said, getting into the actual case studies here that I mentioned I would go through. So there's 3 different case studies here: a mobile app optimization firm, an industrial cleaning supplies company, and an outsourced CFO service, giving you an idea of, for products and service companies, what you can actually do on LinkedIn as far as the ad goes to get people's attention enough to get the highest click-through rate you need, to get the cost per click down, get the cost per lead down, and actually make the ROI that you want at the end of the day, which, of course, if you have the right offer and ad copy on the ad, you should be able to get click-through rates on your ad of 4, 5, 6% itself, of which, because you've narrowed down your targeting a lot, you could make sure this ad gets shown to your target prospect list 10, 20, 30 times and still have it be profitable, because the first showing of the ad, you're going to get a click-through rate of 6, 7, 8% with this type of message market match, what I'm talking about. And then it goes to 5, and by the time they get to where they've seen it 15 times, it's still getting a click-through rate of 1%. It's still profitable. That should be your goal with all this. Now, for that matter, we had a mobile app optimization firm. So it's an actual solutions provider that provides software that helps you optimize the push notifications on your mobile app. So like if you have a game, in order to monetize the game, there's an actual what they call push notification, a message that shows up in the app saying, hey, you could get 20 times more gold by purchasing the gold here, and here's the price or whatever. But there's an art to knowing when to actually ask for the purchase there. And the optimization of that, if you will make you more in-app revenue. You got to have a tool to know, based upon the user level, their activity level, what they've done, what they've not done, when you should actually strategically ask. Because if you ask, without enough engagement through the app, you're not going to get high uptake rates. But if you ask too much itself, then they get numb to it and it's not going to pay off as well. So what this company did, given that all this, the main thing that they were trying to do is help people get push notifications on their app. And this was a while back, and implement this into their apps to have push notifications on a sophisticated basis where you can have this and this and this and this must happen, otherwise the push notification doesn't show up, or if this happens, then this one shows up, if not, this one shows up. It was a software package that allowed you to do this. So understanding that, the obvious thing to do is to just tell people, what can you do with the software to make money? Because in business, it's really simple. How can I make money? How can I save money? Which essentially it's the same thing. Unless you're talking my language in that regard, I don't give a shit what you're saying. I don't care push notifications work or don't work. I want to know how to make push notifications make money. And unless you're gonna tell me that, I really probably don't care enough as I'm scrolling down LinkedIn to click on any ad that you have. So with that said, we added an actual ebook titled How to Increase In-App Revenue with Push Notifications, which it directly ties into the product, so it's perfect. Sometimes you don't get that kind of a perfect match on what you would have in your ebook to what you're offering, but nevertheless, that's what you want to do. And so with that, we targeted chief technology officers at app companies. So the exact title, like I talked about before, at the exact companies that we want to target, which are app companies, people that have apps that need push notification software. Of that, it worked extremely well. Now, I don't have all the specific numbers here, but I could tell you our cost per lead was only around $30 a lead, and our lifetime value of a client is in the multiple thousands of dollars. So the return on this is over 1,000%, extremely profitable, and of which the typical person is gonna think, let's target people on Google search typing in push notification software, which that's not the key to making millions of dollars advertising your business, given that there's only particularly in B2B, there's only so many people searching on Google search for your product or service at the end of the day. And you're lucky in most niches to be able to do millions a year just off of Google search alone. Just there's not enough people searching for it. So, and then even then, your return is generally gonna be better on LinkedIn because it's so cutthroat on Google. The person that is on Google searching for push notification software, they already know that there's multiple providers. They're gonna go with the company that has the best offer. Versus, in this particular instance, you get them to download the ebook, then you have a way to follow up the lead within 5 minutes. While they're even still reading the ebook, you could close a deal with these companies at least 10%, and the client's not gonna be as price sensitive. And here's the other key thing, or the kicker to this, you don't have to simply settle for whoever clicks your ad on Google search. You could find the app companies in this case that have substantial enough of an app that you're dealing with companies that have a large lifetime value to your company. So if they're not gonna make us at least 10 grand in terms of sales revenue, we're just not gonna simply target them on LinkedIn because we could target an exact company list on LinkedIn itself. So for that matter, of course, at the end of the day, you still can't target every company and every decision maker on LinkedIn because they have to be on LinkedIn to begin with at some point just to get in front of them. Most, I would say, I don't have the exact stats on this, but 70% of the decision makers in most markets that you would want to get in front of are going to be on LinkedIn at some point in time, scrolling, over the course of a year at least. You get them as much as you can get them with a good information offer or a bribe like I'm going to talk about in a minute. And with all that said, it's not like that you don't do the Google search ads. It's just you do it in conjunction. And for me, I'm going to try to, in that type of niche market, I'm going to try to go after, particularly if I want bigger clients, I'm going to try to go after LinkedIn first because I could pick and choose who's going to see my ad versus on Google search. I'm going to get a grab bag of different people and I have to sift through a lot of bad leads. And for that matter, if I have to deal with only big companies like we had here, then what you're going to ultimately even have to do is upload an email list of the actual decision makers at these companies that you want to target and upload that to Google search and use it as a way to adjust how your search ads run so that your search ads only show up for people that are on that list. And I'm not going to talk about that particular strategy here. And for that matter, it's technically against Google's rules. But a lot of times you have to do this in B2B just to get Google search to work. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of small guys. Because the guys that are really big, they typically, here's the other key thing, they usually do research and they go read articles and things before they decide to buy. They're not going to pick some random company off of Google search. So for that matter, you're not speaking their language even. So with that said, going into the second example here, industrial cleaning supplies company. So they had a company that sold industrial cleaning supplies, which if you're talking, Corey, hey, I have a boring business. I can't possibly think how to sell my product or come up with anything unique. This shows you how that doesn't matter. You could find a way to make your product unique. For that matter, to be honest though, if you sell brooms to companies to sweep their floor, and this broom is identical to every other broom in every other way, same price, same everything, okay, fine. If that's you, by the way, I wouldn't do LinkedIn ads technically, yes. But why the hell are you selling something that there's no differentiation point whatsoever? Find something else to offer, or make your broom better in some way. I mean, your advertising efforts are going to be so much easier when you do that. But for the cleaning supplies company, again, it just goes down to the golden rule. Like, how am I going to make money or how am I going to save money? And unless you're talking in that language to me, I don't really care what you have to say. So for that matter, we had an ebook again. We're offering information again. We have an ebook called Cut Cleaning Expenses with New Cleaning Agents. And people have to download this. Again, by the way, with this ebook, they have to give their name and their phone number so that we can call them right away. Same thing with this. This formula can be used again and again and again. I don't care what you're doing. We've sold bulk candy this way. Learn how to save money in your bulk candy purchases at your convenience store. Done this type of thing before. This is like a repackageable strategy that can be used in almost any market for that matter. You just got to be able to have the form fill answered quick enough so that while they're still reading the ebook, they're going to get the call, which I've told countless people about this strategy. And it sounds nice to them, but because they don't see anybody else really doing it, they don't think they need to do it. They'll get a lead and they'll call it when they want to. And anymore, you'll get a hold of 30% of the people if you don't answer the lead within 5 to 15 minutes, because people don't answer calls for people they don't know. So why even do it in the first place if you're not answering the lead within 5 minutes? At least during business hours, you can actually have the form fill using a software called Call Drip call you immediately as soon as the form's filled out, so the salesperson can immediately get a call and it says, you know, to get in contact with XYZ person who filled out the form, just hit 1 on your keypad. You hit 1, it automatically dials the person who filled out the form for you. And then you just say, hey, you know, John, appreciate you filling out and requesting the ebook. I wrote that. Do you have any questions about, you know, like what you're reading here? Of course, you need the ebook to be well written in order to get the person to want to start talking. But you say, ultimately, is anything frustrating you about buying cleaning supplies in terms of the costs going up? You say whatever the damn well you need to say to get them talking in some way. Because once they start yapping their mouth, you got them. You just get them to talk as long as you can. The longer they talk, the more rapport you're going to build with them, and the more likely it is they'll do business with you. And your goal in the initial call, honestly, isn't even to sell anything. It's to get them to talk long enough that you've built a connection with them so that you can then, from there, get them to agree to a demo or a time where you could talk about how you're going to specifically save them money itself. Or, extremely big decision, you just say, okay, let me know if you have any questions, and then you contact them later to set up a time. Ultimately, how you decide the sales process goes is up to you, but that's the formula. So we got people to download this ebook here, which there's nothing really that great about these cleaning supplies that we were selling to purchasing managers at manufacturing facilities. Again, title and then company. Yes, it was a new technology that was being used in the cleaning supplies that's cheaper and more effective, and it cleans up in less time, but there's other companies already selling it as well. They're not like the inventor of the technology. It's new enough to where we have an ebook where we can actually come to them with information that's valuable and just talking about that technology. But when we call them and we say we have this technology and we build the rapport with them over the phone with the strategy I just gave you, now you got something now. Because the ebook by itself wouldn't have done enough, because people, what they want is people to read the ebook and then immediately have them call you. Well, the first thing someone does when they read the ebook is they say, I wonder what this new green cleaning agent is here. And they go to Google and they search for it and they find 15 companies that do it. And then your ebook, you're out the door. You lost them. That's why it doesn't work. You got to be able to call them while they're reading it in order to get them while they're hot, build the rapport with them so that you aren't just some faceless, nameless company to them anymore. So they are actually going to go and do what you want them to do, go with this new cleaning technology. You actually are first in line at that point in time. So that's another great example for a boring as hell product, if you will, to actually make sales on LinkedIn that would actually work. At the end of the day, you got to know what they want to hear, which is how you're going to make them or save them money, and find the exact decision maker, title name on LinkedIn, and set of companies you need to go after. And basically anybody can make money on LinkedIn, assuming the average client value is at least 4 figures, but ideally 5 to 6 figures, because the cost of the lead, if you will, on LinkedIn, if you're doing well, you could pay $30 a lead. That can all the way go up to like 300 a lead itself, depending on what you're doing. But even if you're paying an average of $100 a lead, you close 10%, that's $1,000 an average deal. I mean, you only got to have client value of at least $5,000 before this is worth it every time. So, and for B2B, that's mostly all what it is you're going to make at least thousands of dollars per client anyway. So this formula works. This formula works, by the way, also because everybody else who tries to advertise on LinkedIn, they don't know what the hell they're doing, so they can't monetize the ad space like you're going to monetize it with taking basically, whereas everybody's taking a shotgun, you got an actual sniper rifle, and you got the exact person with the exact thing that they want to hear, and then you're taking something that has less value to everybody else, and you're getting more value out of it. And that's why it works. For that matter, by the way, if you want somebody to just set up your campaign or plan it for you here, reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com. I can set you up with the best campaign, the offer, the ad, all of it. So you don't have to this isn't a guess as to whether you're gonna have something that works or not, because 90% of the time I can find an angle that's gonna work right away. I've ran enough of these campaigns. Reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com if you would want to have a discussion about that. I can do a coaching or consulting call with you, whether you're an agency owner or individual business, or I can tell you how to actually get the results using our team to build everything out from scratch, including the tracking, all of it, as well as manage your other ads if you're interested in that. But with that said, we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in their profitability, and that's basically in excess of the management fees that we charge. We're the only agency out there who does this, so chances are good that we, obviously we can do a lot for you, because that shows, the quality of services that we provide. Beyond that, we also have a set of templates that we have. So if you're in a market that we've been in already, in a different city or a different country that our client is in, we can also sell you the winning ad templates that work for that market. The ads, landing pages, and campaign templates that work, that you could literally just copy paste into your ad account. And as far as I know, we're the only ones selling these templates. So as long as you're not competing with our client, you can use it and don't have to go through all the hell that we went through to figure out what works in your market. We've already figured it out. If you're interested in that, let me know. It's basically like having a business in a box, practically speaking, because the hardest part about getting anything to work for a business is a profitable ad campaign funnel that works. And we've figured that out for you already. And we've got 100+ different niche markets. We have templates available. So even if you were looking to start a new business, picking a template that we got from the list that we have, it's like literally the easiest, most sure way to make a business work with the least amount of money up front, practically speaking. For that matter, getting back to what I was mentioning here, now I talked about the industrial cleaning supply company and the mobile app optimization firm. Those were people that we got a profitable sale from, offering information here and getting returns of well beyond 1,000% ROI when you figure the lifetime value of the client and referrals and everything else that we were getting, given that even though it's limited in what we can do, because there's only so many decision makers there and there's only so many people going on LinkedIn. We also do the same thing with an outsourced CFO service, where basically if you need to hire a CFO or chief financial officer, you can hire one the traditional way, go out and put job posts and hire recruiters and stuff, or you could hire a hired gun that comes in on a temp basis, figures out what you need to do to save money, cut costs, whatever, and then they leave. And so it's just a short-term contract that they would have. I mean, sometimes it does go and end up going long-term. The idea of it is not a forever thing. And for companies that are doing 20, 30, 40 million a year in sales, this is a perfect match, because at that kind of revenue level, having a CFO that you need to pay 300 grand a year for is not really the best use of your funds at that particular stage. When you get over 100 million a year, it is. So with that said, we identified with this particular company the average profile of somebody who hires an outsourced CFO service, given that they have CFOs and they're going to come in and help you save money, cut costs, and all that. And with that said, we found the type of revenue a company has that typically would buy into a fractional CFO service. And then with that said, if you will, what are some other markers that makes them a grand slam prospect, or prospect that would be much more likely to do business with us than anybody else? And for that matter, what we found was a company doing between 10 and 100 million a year in revenue, plus somebody that has a COO or chief operations officer itself, but no CFO, is the perfect prospect, because we know they actually care about building a C-level team now but don't have a CFO yet. And they can afford it, and though they're not so big that they're not gonna want to outsource it, if you will. So what we did is we targeted small businesses that have the COO, which you can easily tell on LinkedIn which ones do, because it's right there, public information. Or, there's other places to get that information as well, by the way, and no CFO, and companies that are not too big, but not too small in terms of revenue, which, by the way, in terms of revenue, you can check by employee size. LinkedIn has the employee size there because, obviously the bit more employees it says a company has, the more revenue they likely have. I would recommend supplementing that data with Melissa data, which is a data warehouse that'll tell you the average assumed revenue for different companies that you're researching and potentially targeting. And so the average person just wants to jump in with LinkedIn right away and just running ads because they think it's going to be easy or they're excited about it and they just want to hurry up and see the results already. The real results with LinkedIn is figuring out what makes your customer unique, really unique, and then finding the exact companies to target as a result of that. Even potentially taking your customer list that you have or client list that you have and really digging into it. What are the traits that really make it unique? What state are they from? What country are they from? What traits that they have that makes them different than every other company out there that could buy your service or products itself, so that you could hand pick a list of companies on LinkedIn to target exclusively. With that said, we targeted, though, instead of information this time, this is your other route you could go, which is you could bribe them. You could say, we will give you a all expenses paid trip to this particular golf course. All you have to do is just fill out this form. We're looking to network with CEOs that work for, manufacturing companies. And you can get them to opt in. And then when they go to the golf course, network with all of them. That's one way you can do this, okay? We've done similar things as that before. What you could also do on a smaller scale basis, if you can't afford that or too afraid to do it or whatever, you could just offer gift cards for people's time or money if you wanted to do it that way. But the money thing seems a bit bribe-ish or as tacky. What we've done in the CFO space is say, we will give you a gift card and a Starbucks gift card for just 15 minutes of your time, which you may say, how is that enough? It is enough, even though we're targeting people who are COOs at the company, because they're typically, by the way, also ironically, the ones that would typically say, we need a CFO to help cut costs or figure out where all our money's going or just to be more efficient. And so what we did was our ad actually legitimately said free gift card for 15 minutes of your time. The person clicks on that, they opt in, and immediately they get in a video call on Zoom with the salesperson talking about fractional CFO services and the benefits thereof. You're gonna have, all of the money that you spend every month, we're gonna make you a better deal. Not only can we come in and explain where there's waste, but where there's not waste, we're gonna give you the strategies to cut your costs, if you will. And this is gonna free up probably at least 10% more revenue in your company that you can reinvest into what, advertising or whatever's working. We're also gonna be able to identify any fraud that's likely there. And in most companies, there generally is. XYZ percentage of the companies, the markets that you're in have some level of fraud, and we're going to be able to find it because our CFOs are trained in finding these type of anomalies. Also, they understand from a broad spectrum of different companies ways to save money that you're not going to simply be aware of that is going to be applied to your market. And anyway, on and on. So they lay out all this in the 15 minutes meeting, and then the goal by the end of the thing was to have a more in-depth sales pitch as to what we're going to be able to do for your company specifically. We'll give you a proposal and a list of different things that we're going to be able to do for your company, your market, what we're going to be able to do to save you money and increase your bottom line. Then a certain percentage would sign up for that. We would pay roughly about $50 a lead just to get them into the Zoom call, if you will. And then of those, about 15% of those people would sign up for the full proposal. So we're paying between the gift card that we had to give away, which is a $30 gift card, plus the cost of the lead. We're looking at $80 a lead itself, plus we need about 7 of those just to get into a proposal. Now we're paying about $500 a proposal. And of the proposals, we're only closing about 20% of those. Now we're talking about $2,000 or so per client. For a client though, because we're on LinkedIn, we can hand pick the companies to get in front of here that are not too small. We're talking about $50,000 to $100,000 in engagement here on average, okay? So the return is really good still at the end of the day. over a 10-to-1 return. Why? Because we simply did, anytime a client tells me, if I can get in front of a prospect, I can close them. Well, if that's the case, let's just tell them we'll pay them $500 to get on a damn sales call for 30 minutes. If that's actually true, that's the easiest thing in the world to do in terms of running an ad campaign for that. Well, I don't know if it's really there. Then they start to backpedal a lot of times. But in a lot of cases, if they stick by their guns, that's what I'm going to advocate for, because just getting them on the sales call, that's easy to do itself. A lot of times though, you need to have a warming up of your audience. Just get them to be primed for a sales call. And you can't just go straight into it like that, particularly because people already have vendors. So if you already have a cleaning supplies vendor and you get them on a call and you try to hard sell them, it doesn't work. Whereas with something like CFO services, where they haven't actually really dipped into it yet and they know they're going to need it sometime in the near future anyway, it's like perfect timing. You've caught them right before they got to where they know that they need it, and you rode the wave. So for that matter, that really puts into perspective how to actually get this done at the end of the day. You got to go with the bribe or information on LinkedIn to the exact title and company that you want to go after. You're not going to make $10 million a year probably doing that in your market, but it'll bring in potentially millions of revenue every year because you got this campaign rolling in addition. Now, and if it works, of course, you should expand this. You should be running direct mail campaigns, email campaigns. You get their email address list and you run ads on AdRoll, banner ads showing up for them, all with the same offer, because anything that works on one channel will typically just automatically be able to be copy and pasted to other channels. So with that said, if you want somebody to just man this operation for you and just make your ads work, we're looking to invest in companies as well at this time, where we've invested in several companies recently where we'll invest a 5-figure sum into ad spend with that company in exchange for a cut of their revenue growth in the future. So where if you've got that plumbing company, you offer good services, it's the best in the area, best reviews in the area, have the best team in the area, you have crappy advertising, you're doing $1 million a year in sales, we'll come in and say, we'll get you kickstarted with your ads, or in addition to what you have now, we'll run ads for you. We want an additional 4% of the revenue growth that we get you in the future, though, perpetually on overall sales. And for that, we'll run all your ads and we'll do and you don't have to pay us anything except for that 4%. If you're looking for a company that will do that, which it's ultra rare to even find anybody that would actually do that. I've heard one other company do that before, but we do that, and we're looking for companies to invest in right now. So if you're interested in potentially working together like this, let me know through my site at guaranteedppc.com. I also have a brand new group that I just released on Discord, where we're, the guys and gals from this channel that want to know about the advanced PPC strategies and are talking about doing them that I talk about on this channel. We're talking about it on that group. You should hop in there. I've got a free PPC course if you go in there right now that'll teach you how to go from 0 to millions on a PPC campaign that you set up for your business, the way that we do it for clients at our firm. That course I should be charging money for, but of course it's free in that group. If you join, it's in there and it's available still currently to this day. And I'll make it available for a while later before I start charging for it. But in that group, you can find the link in the video description. I encourage you to join. With that said, I'm going to wrap everything up with that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.